Tánaiste, welcome back to RD Ireland. It's a pleasure to have you here with us this morning for our 2022 annual conference and to have the opportunity to chat to you about foreign direct investment, the Irish economy and the future of FDI. Perhaps I could kick off by asking you about foreign direct investment and how it's driven the economy in 2020. We've seen from the results that you announced recently that foreign direct investment again has been really resilient and the results have been outstanding. Can you tell me, in your view, is FDI important and how do you see the future of it?
Well, thanks, Mary, and great to be back here in IDA headquarters. The results we've seen for 2021, they really are phenomenal. To see so many jobs being created all over the country, so many new investments, really gives a great hope for the future. And really want to say thanks to the investment community and also to IDA staff for making this possible. It's also come at a really crucial time in our economic history because the pandemic has wrought so much damage on some sectors in the economy, whether it's aviation or hospitality or tourism or the arts or the event sector. And the fact that the traded sector, that IDA companies, that export companies are doing so well, has made sure that we have the revenues that we needed to help people who've lost their jobs, to help businesses that needed help. And a lot of that would not have been possible without the strong performance of FDI in 2021. So we're very grateful for all of that.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly true, as you said, about FDI and its impact on the domestic economy. And great to see the spend on Irish goods and services is at 11 billion, which is an increase of about 6% since 2019. So that's terrific to see. And of course, when you look at the environment that companies have been operating here, we're hearing and seeing an awful lot around the whole area of the future of work, Tánaiste. The future of work is very broad. It's hybrid, it's remote working, it's digitalization, artificial intelligence, a myriad of things today that certainly have been accelerated on the back of COVID. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and maybe what you see as your priorities going forward?
Well, I suppose I often say what we're dealing with at the moment is the twin crisis, if you like, which is the pandemic and Brexit. But what we can't lose sight of is the twin transition, and that's green and digital, and also diversification. So a big part of what we're doing is trying to diversify our economy and the markets that we're active in. So not just Britain and the Eurozone and the US, but also other markets further afield. Getting prepared for the transition to a low carbon economy, which is absolutely essential, and good to see a lot of IDA companies being part of that agenda, but well short of where we need to be, and a lot more needs to be done in that space in the coming years. And then also digitalisation. And one of the things we're going to do next year as a government is launch our new national digital strategy. My department, the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, will become the lead department on the digital agenda. And we also have funding from the European Union that we're going to use to help companies of all sizes to embrace digitalisation, which I think is going to be crucial for the future.
It certainly is, and we're seeing, a lot of our own client companies look at that whole area of digitalisation and the types of jobs that are going to be created there as well. And they are very different, but again, very high quality jobs. So I think that's really terrific to see. Tánaiste, one of the things that I'm very conscious of is that you just came into this role as Tánaiste and Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment in June 2020, and obviously COVID had kicked off at that point. Your remit is engaging, obviously you have responsibility for the agencies, and you've been working very, very closely with IDA Ireland. Is there anything from your experience to date of working with IDA Ireland that is something that you may not have known before, or something that's new to you that you weren't aware of?
Well, I suppose I'm fortunate to have had experience of working with IDA in my previous role as Taoiseach, and then even before that in transport, tourism and sport, working with Tourism Ireland, which I suppose in a way is a sister agency. So I've always been really impressed by the work of IDA Ireland. It is kind of up there with among the best agencies of its type in the world. I think we're often compared with Singapore and some of the other agencies that are very successful in securing investment. So I think the results have always spoken for themselves, not just in the last few years, but in decades gone by. And as an agency, it's been crucial in modernising and transforming our economy. I suppose one thing that I've probably learned to appreciate a bit better over the years is the extent to which relationships are so important. And managing relationships with companies over the long term really is crucial, and probably something we do naturally well as Irish people, but requires a lot of business acumen as well. And I think IDA is top class, and its staff are top class in that regard.
Thank you very much for those kind words, Tánaiste. And I think, it's hugely important as well that you do have that opportunity to engage with our clients, because they do like to see a stable government in locations, and they also like to have that opportunity to engage, at the highest level. And that's, I think, one of the biggest pieces that we can say about Ireland as a location, that we're very well networked and very well connected. So I think it's absolutely true, your comments there about that engagement with clients and the importance of it. I know our CEO always says that for us, it's very important that we're face to face with our clients. And he regularly reinforces that, and of course that has been challenging over the last 20 months. So the time that you have put in with us on virtual meetings and indeed on attending some EI and IDA Ireland trade missions has been very beneficial. So we'd like to thank you as well for all of that.
I hope I can do some more. One thing CEOs of big companies often say to me is having access to government is really important to them, and they don't get that necessarily in every country, and it's probably one of the advantages we have as a small country. And then Irish companies who I travel with on trade missions really appreciate the endorsement of the access that they get because they have a government minister with them. It's just been unfortunate that it's been so curtailed because of the pandemic. I'm probably the least travelled enterprise or trade minister since the 50s or 70s, but we're doing all that we can virtually anyway.
Absolutely, and I think that is the challenge for us, that perhaps you will be busier in 2022 on the back of that once COVID once COVID is gone, hopefully, and we have the ability to travel again, that you will be doing many more of those trade missions, because as you rightly identified, they are very beneficial for you and indeed for us and for the economy. Tánaiste, just mentioning COVID there, I just wondered, and if it's okay, can I ask you how you've managed personally through COVID? Is there any kind of feedback or guidance that you would give our audience today based on your experience really over the last 22 months?
Well, I suppose I'm very conscious that nearly 6,000 people have lost their lives in Ireland as a consequence of COVID. One of the lowest mortality rates in the developed world, but still thousands of people and their lives that are lost, their families that are grieving. And no matter how hard we may feel, the pandemic has been on us. It's a totally different experience for people who've lost a loved one. And then I think of the healthcare workers, many of whom I know, one of whom I live with, all of whom are pretty exhausted at this stage. So, whatever experience that we've had to have working in politics or in business, I don't think it's a patch on what other people have had to experience, or even the difficulties of people who've been trying to work from home and also homeschool at the same time when the schools were closed. That was really, really tough on people. I do think one thing, though, that is a real positive in the pandemic is we have learned to do things differently. Moving online, doing things digital would have taken us 5-10 years to do that if we'd planned it, but when we had to do it, we did. And also, again, the role of science, governments, universities, and pharma companies, for example, working together to produce the vaccines in record time, produce new vaccines as we may need them for future variants, and also now producing those therapeutic agents, which I think will make a big difference in the spring, those tablets that you can take to ward off COVID and stop you getting sick or being hospitalized. So, science and enterprise working together are going to end this pandemic, and that's a big part of what we all do.
Tánaiste, can I thank you very much for your time? I think we're probably at our limit, and I think you've given us very good insights into foreign direct investment and to the future as well. It really just leaves me now to say Gurv Míle Maithagad. Thank you very much for your time with us this morning and for your openness as well. And on behalf of all of my colleagues in RD Ireland, the Chair and the CEO, and the audience here today, to wish you every success in 2022, and also to wish the team in DETI, led by Orla, continued success as well. And we look forward to working in close cooperation with you and with the team in DETI in 2022. Thank you very much, Tánaiste.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.